Okay, so I am actually jumping in to the logging of this session midway. I just started coding and things started coming together, so I figured why not record it because I was doing stuff. Do you get weird things happening? At least I do when I code. Like sometimes it's just nothing is really working, and then sometimes things just flow. So right now this was a moment where things started making sense. It's just weird, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so essentially the idea here is I was working on in the middle of working on on the weapon controller, and I realized somewhere along the way that uh, Godot doesn't handle data quite like Unity handles data, with regards to uh, like just storing classes. You can't do that, right? So I said, well, does this actually mean that I need to serialize things manually? Unity doesn't. Unity has like this. I guess you could get, I'm assuming it's reflection or something that they use, but you can basically just go into a class in Unity. Like this is the class, and you just have this, right? The properties. And this stuff, you'd have to tell Unity, hey, this stuff, you already have the serialized data for this, but don't serialize it or do or whatever. And then when you call for JSON on a specific on a class, it will just grab the serialized data and then write that to JSON or whatever you're doing, right? Godot doesn't have that. So you have to actually serialize it yourself, which is basically this. It's essentially what this is. And I'm thinking, okay, what's the structure that I want to set up for this? Because I'm just so used to just simply saying, hey, item, save this, right? Like just save this, and then Unity will understand, yeah, I want properties actually. Um, and stuff like this, obviously you can't store this, right? So this needs to be something else. So I came up with this idea. Well, this is actually going to be a test too, because I'm not sure how inheritance works in Godot exactly. Like, is because in Unity you have what's called the base, right? You can just do like, let's say I inherit item, and then I override save data on weapon, right? So this is it. If I call save data, am I also calling save data from higher up in the hierarchy? Or because in Unity, what you would do is that the override is simply exactly that. It's overriding the top save. Um, and then you'd have to do something like base save data, and then it will go up a level, and so on and so forth. And you just call base in each level going up, right? And that's how you'd get the top functions to work. I don't know if that's the case here, right? Because as far as I've read on this, it's that it's just so ambiguous, the language. It's I'll read it right here. Where is it? Inheritance. Script inheritance allows you to create a hierarchy of classes. Overriding methods. There it is. One of the key benefits of inheritance is the ability to override methods in child classes. Okay, that's clear. This allows you to modify or extend. So this is the wishy-washy part. Is it overriding or is it extending the behavior of the class? Because if it's extending, that tells me, or modifying, that tells me that it's keeping the behavior from higher up in the hierarchy. Um, in other words, item class is save game or save item behavior will still be executed. And if it's executed, what order is it executing it in? Is it the top level first or is it the calling level first? Right? This is something that I would like to know. So basically it goes without having to modify the base class to override a method in the child class, simply create a method. So yeah, we've done that. And the example that's being given here Yeah, the example that's being given here is like you want to call. I think there is a key word here, right? In Unity, it's base, but I think that Godot, it's just so unlikely that this is going to simply know that it should read from the top one. So there has to be something else. Um, and I'm thinking that I might have just overlooked something. So let's get into it. So that's basically where I left off. But yeah, so basically what I'm thinking I'm going to do here is I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to do it like this. So when we load the game, I want to first call base dot load data. Now I could make the base, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have something built in. And from what I can see, it looks like people are saying, let me try this. Is this a thing? Too few arguments, load data. Okay, I'm going to take that as that's a thing. That's what people are saying that we should use in this case. So now this is fine, right? What if I want to return something? Well, hold on now. If it's the case that we want to return something, then I think I have an idea. So this can be like this. And we can say super like that. And that should work, right? So basically this is going to go into this, and then it's going to populate a dictionary here of this. And then now from here we can just manipulate this dictionary with this information. And I think, like I said, today for some reason it's just flowing. Um, I don't know why, but the ideas are just going through. Um, okay, so Godot is still giving me an issue uh, that I'm just not sure about, but it is what it is. Um, okay. Yeah, Godot is still giving me a nasty issue where if I make changes, it's tied to, from what I understand, it's tied to the fact that this is a custom class. All right, or that I'm using custom classes. Godot is really bad about connecting stuff on its back, what's happening behind the scenes. That's what my understanding. That's what people are saying. So I'm just working off of that. But it's functional. I found a quicker way of handling it, which is just to go to the project and then just do reload current project. That seems to fix whenever I get those issues where like I've made changes somewhere else and then it's not being picked up in other places. Uh okay. So now the next thing that we need to do is um you need to, so essentially, let's go to what's going on here. I've strayed away from my tasks a little bit, but this stuff I want to take care of. So you know what I should do? I should just write down these tasks. Item, data, connectivity, connective framework. Okay, because that's going to come back later, big time, right? Like I'm trying back where I'm going to say, well, I wish I had made this already. So I want to get that out of the way. This is part of that process, right? Because in Unity, I would have had the tool already for this, but now I have to remake this tool and I have to make it leaning into my strengths as well as Godot's. So that's the trick. But in Unity, this would have been probably like maybe like a 10 or 20-minute project. In Godot, this turned into quite an expansive situation. Um, so let's do this, and then we can go and say, all right, in this particular one. So let me explain exactly, just in case it's not being understood, what I'm doing here. Effectively, on the persistent entity, this is expanded a little bit, but basically on the persistent entity, I've discovered a few things about serialization. For one, when you do dictionaries, it turns the key into a string. So since I'm using enums, I have to convert those back into integers. So what I do here is that, well, let's say like this data that I get is a dictionary inside of the previous dictionary, right? And that dictionary is going to have in it the name, the state, the health, and so on. So these are all elements within the dictionary that we get back, which is the based on uh, the persistent ID that we put in. So the next step is, well, we have other dictionaries inside of that dictionary. One of those dictionaries would be like the inventory system, right? Which is this. And so we need to convert those numbers back into integers again. So that way we have a way of referencing that, right? So we don't do it based on the we don't do it based on the one sec. I think I just ran into a wall here. So if I look, that's inventory, and we're going to go into the inventory, and then we're going to go into I in the inventory. So we don't care what I is, right? Right. So in this case, we're going to basically be going through the dictionary. And I think what we're going to be doing, because this is a dynamic language, is we're just going to get an index, right? When we make our inventory, the inventory is going to have an index for each slot in the inventory. Or maybe each item can have its own unique ID. But whatever the case might be, it's going to be this I. And then that I is going to say, okay, this slot in the yeah, it's going to be slots. I'm going to make it the slots. So this slot in the inventory is going to be added to the new dictionary, right? As being this particular item. Now, this won't work because of something that's happening that I'm taking care of right now in New Dict 2. So this is actually just more like theory, right? This is in theory what this is supposed to do. But this is actually, because this is actually practical, this is what is happening. So what is happening here is that New Dict 2, which is, or actually rather this, I'm looking at all of the stuff that the character presently has equipped, right? And we're going to make a dictionary on the character, and we're just going to call it the equipment, right? This is all the stuff that the character presently has equipped that's going to be in that dictionary. That's what I'm thinking in the end. So I haven't made that yet. That's going to be at the, I think at the entity level is what I'm going to do that at. Right? I'm not sure. It might be at the persistent entity level. It might be at the entity level. Maybe I want regular enemies to have the, like equipment on them or something, or some type of equipment system that is transferable. Maybe like if the player can somehow turn themselves into an enemy character, then they can have the properties of the enemy, and it's just transferable easily that way if we ever decide to save the game. Right? We don't have to worry about that. So so when the player comes back, they'll come back looking like the enemy and etc. So over here, what's happening is for yeah, I understand it's feature creep is an issue that I am trying to avoid. I'm just throwing a postulation out there. That's something that's a possibility because this system should be modular enough to handle that. So for I in data enums into, yeah, so basically I'm going to look at the dictionary inside of the section of, so this is a dictionary. I'm going to look at the dictionary that is the stuff that should be equipped. And then for each item that should be equipped, right? I is going to represent whatever that item is. So it could be a weapon, it could be um, something else, whatever. Or rather, I is going to, yeah, represent. So it could be a weapon, it could be whatever. And then E is going to be the particular stat on that weapon, if that makes sense. So let me just get my head through this. For each item that's equipped, right, we're going to go to new dict 2, and then new dict 2 is then going to say, okay, we're going to, oh, I think I messed up. Okay, so actually we don't need to do this because we're going into the equipped section already, right? So if we're in the equipped, what we actually want is this part. We want to be able to use this enum. So we can just do this, delete. There we go. Go out one level. So we don't need to collect E on this. We're doing that down the road. And we don't need E on that. Okay, there. So there. So now we went down. So it was top level, the character. The second level is the equipped property. And then we go into the dictionary there. And then we're storing that dictionary here. Or rather, we're adding each one of the items in that particular section to this dictionary. And then we are then saying, okay, we have the new dictionary, and then we store that each one here, right? So there's a reason why this has to be done, right? Or rather, it's better to do this, because if I don't do this, what will happen is, um, I'll need to throw away effectively. I'll have to do this eventually at some point. So instead, what's happening here is that this is going to say, okay, we want to instance this. Now, if you remember, we made the initialization for weapon here. And the initialization for weapon in it is taking in the weapon data, right? That's the idea. So now what we're doing here is what we're doing here. Oh, wait, there we go. What we're doing here is we actually are doing it wrong. But what we want is we want to get the weapon found reference, right? So the way to do that would be something like this, I think. Actually, I think this is wrong. We can probably go something like this. Weapon data can be equal. Weapon dot. Where is weapon? Maybe it's an item. Hmm. You know what? We can just do this. And we can do a return res, right? We don't know what we're going to return. So I'm just leaving that blank, right? And then we can do something like this. And so we can say info equal to, oh, come on. There we go. There we go. That should do it. So now this is going to do a return for the res, which is exactly what we want. So we got that working. So now the next thing is we go back to here and we say data is going to be to it's annoying. Oh, this is annoying. Very annoying. Okay, so let's do this. We'll save this. Then we'll go back to here. Does it pick up on it? Var w info going to be equal to weapon dot set info. Uh, okay. Now this is the beauty of using statics. So now we can go like this and say, weapon current weapon current active weapon is going to be equal to the see, I don't like this, right? I'm gonna do something. This doesn't work yet, but we're gonna do it now to make it work. Current active weapon. So we don't want to do that actually. Well, we are going to do this, but this is what this is going to be. We're going to say var. I want to see what it looks like if you export it also. I have no clue if Unity doesn't allow you to do this with dictionaries, but we'll see. Maybe this, I don't think it's going to work, but we'll see. Var current equipment, and we're going to say this is a dictionary. And we're going to have built into it, we're going to say util, oh, sorry, this is enums, yeah, enums dot equipable, I think is what it was called, dot weapon. And be that, and we're going to have I wonder, I do this, and then I do var weapon. Does that work? Oh, whoops. Hmm. So you can't, as far as I can tell, I see no examples that allow for me to do things like declaring a type in dictionary, right? Like in Unity, you can do stuff. I'll show you the Unity version right now, actually. You can do something like this in Unity. Let's go back out here. You can do something like this, where you'd use that, and then you'd say something like, um, enums dot equipable, and then you'd say some specific type, right? Like whatever. Now, in this way, this is actually better because uh, this you don't have to declare anything. It will just take anything. But it's kind of now making me think that you can't export it because you can't actually declare anything with this as being the type. Like, how is the editor even going to handle that? Let's just do a general dictionary. I want to see what it looks like if you just put a normal dictionary into the editor, what the editor will handle, how the editor will handle it. Dictionary, right? That should work. All right, let's take a look. So let's look at this. How does it handle? Just goes weapon info, and it's not there. So yeah, it doesn't display it. That's what I thought would happen. Okay, fair enough. Um, so there we go. So now let's get rid of this. We don't need it. Goes here. Current equipment. Um, so the idea is that we're going to want to put the equipment into this, right? And then whenever we need to get access to a specific equipment, we can just put like enum weapon, and then boom, we get that equipment. So let's do that. So now we have current equipment. I am 100% sure that this thing is not, no matter what happens, this thing is not going to be communicating it down to the persistent enemy entity level. Let's go here. Let's add it in. So we now have the weapon info. The next thing is so the weapon. So what did we do here? We got the weapon info. So now the next thing is we need to actually make var weapon is going to be equal to weapon new, and it's going to be w info, right? And then after we do that, then we have to do weapon dot so this looks clumsy right here, but this is I have already in my mind what I'm going to do with it to fix this. Just give me 1 second. Like I have a process because I don't want to have to repeat this for every single kind of equipable item, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get the length of equipable, if that's a thing, if you can do that with enums in this. We'll see. I'm going to show you. Weapon dot update, I think it is. Hmm. The weapon itself needs to have its values. updated, right? On load. So in this case, the weapon. And actually, this doesn't. This is item, not weapon. This is the beauty of inheritance. So you do it that way. And then we'll do that stepping. So weapon. So we don't have update, I think, on weapon. Let's take a look at weapon. I don't think we have something like that here. No, instead what we have is load data. Woo, 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 woo. See, this is what I mean. Like when I go back and then I see this stuff, I just I'm like super happy. Um, so instead, what we're going to do is we are going to load this data. Let's do that. Let's actually make the saved data first. So it's going to be data, or rather stored dot stored, and we're going to make one up. We're going to call it damage, and it's going to be equal to damage self. Okay. And then, yeah, okay, there we go. I'm getting into flow again. Stored knockback going to be equal to self knockback stored offset. Whoops, stored offset. I don't think we even need this. I'll be honest with you, because once we've gotten this part, we should have gotten the info. So I don't think we need to actually, we can just set the offset. Like once we've gone through this part, the super low data, info should have been set. And if info is set, then we should just be able to go info dot, what the heck? Right? So that should be a thing. Because all this is loading. All info should have, let me look at weapon data on info. Weapon data. Yeah, offset. There it is. So this should just basically say we have the info already. We're only going to replace these things because they can change, right? Like, and maybe offset can change too. No, I think offset is going to be something. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Maybe we can have like a stat that changes the offset or something. I don't know. We'll see how we handle that. I don't think that's the right way to handle it. So we're going to actually not store the offset at all. All right, and same thing, hit area shape is going to be equal to info dot hit area shape, and is natural. Good. Going to be equal to info. Oh, it's actually picking up on it. Nice. Okay. Yeah, well, like once we set info up, then these should be good. And we can always just change this later, I think. Like, if I want to make it so that way you can change the area shape of the weapon, I don't think we'll ever have to do that, I'll be honest with you. Certain things are just going to be consistent. So we have the information that we're going to need for this, this. And these two are really the only two things that can be augmented for some purpose, right? That's what I'm thinking. So now when we save the game, we put everything into this stored dictionary for this particular item, right? And then we say that we then grab the rest of it that's related to this specific weapon. So we've called super here. Super is going to return back this dictionary information. Then this, we're just going to add on to that dictionary's information. And then we're going to send that dictionary out to whatever is going to handle. So whatever is going to get this, or is going to call this, is basically just going to incorporate every single one of the saves of the items that it gets, right? All of these different dictionaries are going to basically just be taking their elements and adding each element to, because each one of them should only ever have one element. The, the problem is that uh, this thing, like I would, so let me show you, for example, what I did with the rest of the weapon data, the weapon handler class, right? Just to show you, like, this is how I normally would handle data, which is like once I've gotten to the point where, okay, the class looks like it's pretty much formulated, then I start making like subclasses in there to kind of just package up the information that I want to package up. So like in this case, this is the weapon handler class, but inside it has the subclass damage, right? And then the damage will hold the damage, the knockback, the direction of the knockback, and the source of where the damage is coming from. So what hit you basically. And so that's basically it. So that's like this is like the package. And there's really nothing in here. You once we initialize it, then we populate this stuff, right? So there's really nothing in here until we initialize it. And normally I would do something like this in Unity, I would have done something like this in the form of a struct. And then after that, like when we hit something now, when we confirm the hit, we just make a new damage. We populate it with what it needs, and then we send that damage out to whatever we hit. Right? And it's neat. It has everything in it. So now when we send this, whatever we send it to can just say, okay, let me grab the damage, the amount of knockback, the direction I'm going to be knocked back into, um, and who is the one who hit me, and anything else that might be tied to or want to observe this signal can know that okay, this guy just hit something, right? Like, and we can tack up the damage on that particular thing. So if let's say like an enemy is interested, let's say if this was a multiplayer game and an enemy is interested, or maybe we have multiple like factions or something, but an enemy is interested in aggroing a particular person, then it can have some type of thing that's tracking this entity and tracking the amount of damage that that entity is responsible for. And basically, every time it takes damage, it wants to check to see, hey, who's on the top of my list for the amount of damage I've received, and then they might want to shift their aggro to that particular thing, right? And so this will allow it to do that. It can just say, hey, yeah, I know who I hate the most right now. Let me go after them, right? And we might want to add additional things to that. So something like, uh, okay, if this target is out, if this target breaks line of contact or I can't find anything, and it goes back basically from an attack state to I don't know, like a searching state or any other state really, um, except chasing, or then it can then just remove that particular entity from that array, I would say in this case, or maybe dictionary. Um, And so that's basically what this allows. It's just a packaging. It's a neat packaging of data, right? That's normally how I would handle it. But unfortunately, Godot, I can't just say, okay, uh, save this, and then it'll know, yeah, all of this stuff needs to be stored. It won't do that, right? It doesn't do that for this. It doesn't serialize the data, which is fine, right? We're figuring it out as we go along. Um, so yeah, so now the idea is that we've made the new weapon. And so we want to add this weapon to, um, we want to add this weapon to our current equipment, right? So I don't think current equipment works. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's going to pick up on it. Let's save the game and let's just make sure that we are using the correct name. Where is it? Editing. Okay. I'm going to just copy it and paste it. It's like the absolute way of ensuring that I'm using the correct, right? And then we're going to say current equipment. So, whoops, if has uh, so if it already has this is what I'm thinking. No, we don't need this. We don't need this at all. I think we'll just be doing current equipment. Oh, it did pick it up. Um, is going to be equal to weapon. There we go. All right. So now let's see if we can make, go back one step. Let's see if we can make a function out of this. Func populate equipment. And in this function, we're going to want to take in the enum. Or actually, we're going to want to take in the data dictionary. We're going to call it dict. And this is going to be dictionary. Can I do anything? Let me see something. What can be done with dictionary? Nothing. They don't have anything that can be... Oh, here we go. Ah, I see. That's kind of weird. I mean, I get it, sort of. Is this like a quick way of making a new dictionary? Yeah, so this just has dot duplicate. Okay, got it. Um, okay. So, yeah. So that's that. So we have the dictionary and then we have the dictionary. So in this, we're going to be going through. Oh, we forgot something. We forgot something. Weapon dot load data. And we're going to say data. Okay, so what this does is this will initialize it, right? And then what this does is that this will modify the data as needed. So inside of this, what is it? Actually, let's go back to the weapon real quick. I think I did too much. Where's populate data? Yeah, populate data takes care of a lot of things. So we don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. And we don't need to do this. We don't need to do any of these things. We're just going to override these specific parts. So first we call, this is going to do a populate data. It's going to just set the data up to its basic stuff. And in the same frame, then it's going to say, okay, what are the changes from the save file on load data? And then it's going to just load in those changes. So it overrides this stuff. Right? So whatever the new item name is, texture, anything like that, it'll just replace all of that in super load data. And then over here, it will, awesome. Okay. Good to go. We're good here. I think we're good. We went a little bit too far before. This is fine now. This is fine. Less stuff, the better. So we have damage and knockback. We don't need to care. We just need to make sure that we're passing in the right thing. Where are you? Okay. So in the case of weapon, it's going to have load data. Actually, all items have load data, right? So now the next question is this part. Can we make this part not repetitive? So item set info, this part right here is going to look for a weapon, right? That's part of the problem. Okay, so hold on one second. This part is going to look for the equipment. Right? And then it's going to grab equipped eye. The fuck is this? Sorry. This is the thing that is confusing me. Oh, I see. Okay, so we're in equipped, and this is going to return the weapon. Or in this case, it's going to not return the weapon, it's just going to populate this with this for each item in this. And it's handling the conversion of this to a, got it. So the entire point of this is why we note things. Okay. Converts strings to integers. That's the entire purpose of that. I walked away from it for like, well, not even walked away. I was just looking at another code and completely forgot what the heck I was doing here. So this just converts that back into an integer so we can use enums for it. Um, is I need to find a modular way of handling. So this just has all of the stuff that we care about for the equipment, whatever is equipped. This here needs to be a modular way of accessing all of that equipment, right? So if it's a weapon, it'll handle it like it's a weapon. If it's armor, like a armor, and so on. So the easiest way to handle that would be a switch statement, right? So we do a switch statement and then we'll say, yeah, if this is this, then we want it to return um, item, and the item is going to be this info. All right, info. So whatever the item is, we get its reference from the item static, and then we say, and we just keep doing that. We're going to iterate through it. Okay, I see what to do. All right, so it's going to be a couple of things that need to be done. I don't think, oh yeah, we still need to do this. Okay, so for I in new dict 2, so now we can do something like this. We can do something like this. Gosh, I can't remember. It's not a switch statement, it's like a match. So before we actually get to match, we need to create a var info, right? And that's just going to be that. And then we can go match, and we're going to say enums equipable. Okay. And then we're going to say enums not equipable dot weapons. Right. And if it's a weapon, then we're going to say this. Info is going to be equal to item dot set info picked okay, there we go. So basically, yeah, then it'll go through here and it's going to take in the dictionary, and so we're going to have the key here. And we're going to say if the, wait, what? We're supposed to match the, enum. Oh, okay, I got you. Money. Oh. Um, So yeah, that's the idea, right? So then we just go populate equipment, and we can say nedict 2 and I. It would be Unity allows you to do this. Let me see if this will do it too. I don't think this will work, but you never know until you try, right? Yep, there we go. Okay. That would have been good. Fair enough. So basically, no. We know that it can handle conversions on int to enums built in, so we're just leaving it at that. It automatically understands an enum as an integer as well as its enum. So we're just going to leave it like that. Okay. So I in newdict underscore 2 populate equipment. Okay, so we pass in for each item in the dictionary. We pass in the dictionary as well as the key of that item. And then we say, okay, if that item is a matches this particular key, or if the key, we're checking this. So if that key happens to be weapons, then the info, we set the info to being that particular. I don't think we need this. Right, yeah, this is good here. Right, info is going to be set to that right off the bat. So what's happening here now is var weapon going to be equal to weapon new info. Right, and then we're going to say weapon dot load data. What the heck is data? Oh, yeah, no, this is wrong. We want in the weapon data, we only want to go out so far. We want to go back to uh we want to go back to, I believe, one layer under. Let's see. So this is equipable weapons. So we actually just want to go back to this. Yeah, dict. Right? And it's going to have the strings. Low data has the strings already inside of it that it's going to just pull from this dictionary. And then we need to apply this. Current equipment enums equipable weapons equals weapon. Right. This should either replace or make a new weapon. Right? And then add it to it. And there we have it. So now, from this point going forward, it's just a matter of adding like armor or so on and so forth. But yeah, this is how it's going to operate. This is the sequence. This is the formula. All right, good enough. I think that's good. So now we have that part done. Right, this is as much as I wanted to get done for the equipment. I think the part that now that we have like a working model for how this is supposed to go, we can actually get rid of this stuff. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we got rid of that stuff. So now the next thing is just overall the inventory, right? Uh, I don't think we have. So I think we've decided that I'm gonna just put this stuff on hold for now. I'm just gonna comment it out, right? But this is gonna be basically the inventory system. That's the goal. That's the idea here. So with that inventory system out of the way, um, hmm, yeah. So this is going to be the inventory system. That's that. This is the equipment, which is kind of like the prototype to the inventory system now. It's funny how that worked. So I made this first, the prototype for this, but now this is done-ish. So this is just a system. So effectively now we have a method for populating equipment, right? This is the method to populate properties, and of the properties that are specifically equipment, this is how we do it. And this will just write to the dictionary that we have. That's a dictionary of our current equipment, whatever the current equipment is that we want to have added to it. So now the next thing is we need something to handle the calling of saving, right? Because this is effectively, I wouldn't call it populate properties. I'd call it load properties, right? And then if I go, let's save this. If I go down to the, if I go down to one layer and because it's going to give me an error, it's a dungeon player. Here, it should be load properties. Weird. Pretty sure I spelled it correctly. Load properties. It's one of these things again. All right, fair enough. Um, properties is the idea, right? Um, and so what this is going to do, the only thing this is responsible for is that when I call this, so if I call load properties, right, it's going to do this stuff on its own. It'll go into memory, into the manager and the data manager, and it will get from the data manager, which is stored as, how am I getting this? I think I get it from over here, dungeon player, dict. Where am I getting dict from? There we go, from here, right? It's telling it to, hey, get the player, and then it's getting the dictionary related to that, to this particular entity, and then running load properties on it. And then in the persistent entity, it's running the load properties. It's going to check to see if the data has anything in it to begin with. If it doesn't, then it just returns. It's going to say, hey, there's nothing here for me. I don't exist. Right? And actually, I should probably destroy or actually uh, create new entity objects data here. Right, this would probably be the conditions that's needed for creating a new entity data piece, right? And then we go here, let's say we did find data, then we go here and we start populating stuff. One of the things that we needed to populate was we need a system for populating equipment, which we just got done. And we're going to actually use that same system for a few other things. So this system right here blueprints a few other systems. For example, quests. It blueprints also inventory. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different things that can be tied into this same kind of system, right? So now the other half of this is the save properties. We need to, and all of this is going to go back down to the versatility of our save and load game from before, from over here, because it's all going to come back over to these two methods, save game and load game, right? Uh, so basically, the idea though is that when we do save game here on this entity, we're not actually going to be doing something that calls save game. Instead, what we're going to be doing is something that calls something that's going to populate or update the persistent entities, right? And I think that's this, update entity. So the idea is if you call save here, then it's not going to. So let's actually rename this because this isn't save properties. This is update persistent properties. Update persistent property data. A long name, but it is what it is. So all we're doing is updating the persistent properties data from this method. So the idea is that we're doing this because we don't want to save the game. Like let's say we have a specific NPC that we want to store. It's, let's say, like you're going from one scene to the next scene, and all of the NPCs in that particular scene need to have their data stored, right? Because once you go to the next scene, you have to unload that particular scene, so they're going to lose all of their data. So we call update persistent properties data, which is then going to just go to the persistent properties for each entity that we're about to call this on, and then they're just going to update their dictionary information on that. Then when we go back to that scene later on, this will handle the loading of those properties back. So technically, if we get rid of this, right, this is like what it's supposed to do. Because this is effectively what it's supposed to do. All right, we're going to put it back because I'm still testing that out. I want to make sure that it's storing this properly down the road. So, but I'm going to definitely get rid of that effect just in case I forget it's a thing. So right, now we want to do update persistent data, right? So when we do this, what we're doing is we are doing the inverse of this, which is we're going to make a new dictionary. And the key to that dictionary is going to be the key to that dictionary is going to be hold on one second. Let's go back to this thing. What is this looking for? Update entity. Huh. Huh. I don't think we need to do this. I don't think we need to do this. I think we can simply call update entity. Right? This is handling just about every bit of the logic anyway. The only thing that it's missing is how to put together this. So actually, what we do is we need to just send it. Let's see, does this work now? I think that's going to give me an issue. Yep, equipable. And we're going to put data dot current equipment. And oh no. Oh yeah. Okay, let's take a look at the enums. Equipped. Got it. Might as well just use strings because this thing doesn't actually autocomplete sometimes. With enums, I thought it would, but nope. Current equipment. So yeah, basically this is done. I don't need to go through all of that work, right? Because we're already storing this, and we have a method of getting that information back already. So this is the other part, which for now we're just going to do this for this. Oops. Stop. There you go. Okay, so for now we're just going to do that. But yeah, current equipment is set up. I think that's it. That's all that's necessary because we already have this in dictionary format, right? It's just going to add this particular. So this is inside of this particular entity. We're looking at these particular properties of that dictionary, and we're making a new dictionary inside, or rather we're adding a new dictionary inside of this dictionary, right? So this is new data. We're making a new dictionary, and then we're just adding this to this part of the dictionary. And then we're just going to say, okay, the persistent data, I want you to add this data, this new dictionary to that dictionary, or this new data dictionary to that dictionary. Right? And from what we see, that should do it actually. So over here, back in the persistent entity, all I have to do is this. Update persistent. All I have to do is just, where is it? Where am I? Persistent entity. Current location. There you go, data manager. Update entity. Well, I think is what it needs. Okay, I think that's it. And so now this should just run update. Right? For this particular entity. So it looks like I was already thinking about that when I made that before. So I didn't have to do too much this time, which is nice. The data manager, update entity, self. And now that this is done, save. Oh gosh. But I got load property. Oh yeah, still can't find that. It's so random, man. Let's just make sure I'm not the one typing in bad information. Load properties. And we're going to go over to the dungeon player, and we're going to go, and it says load properties We're just going to replace that with load properties. And nothing. Okay. This is the part where we go reload. Hey, and let's check to see if it figured it out. And it looks like it did. Okay, good. Right. So, okay, fair enough. So, yeah, I think that's it. All, folks. Initialize persistent data. And then load properties. What is initialize persistent data doing again? Ah, this. Yeah, it's getting the persistent data. Yeah, that has to be called early. And then we do load properties here. Okay, and then we are doing this. Update persistent. And so all this is doing is updating that. And now when we call so when we call an exit, we need a method of somehow every node in the scene to run update persistent properties, right? We need, so this is our like linchpin right here. So once this is done, we need, like, let's say the scene is unloading, probably in the persistent data manager, we're going to have something that's going to call out to all of the nodes and say, hey, all nodes, I need you to update the persistent properties. And then after it does that, then it will, so this wants to return true when complete, maybe? I'm not sure. But after it finishes doing that process, then it will save the game for that particular scene, is what I'm thinking. All right. If there's like, or maybe if there's like an autosave function, it'll autosave to that. And then I think that's what I want to do. But it's giving me an error. Why is it giving me an error? Current equipment dictionary. The current equipment already exists in the class. Okay, got it. So we can get rid of this. So sorry, picking up on that. Good. Excuse me. Okay, so let's save. Let's go look at the entity real quick. Entity is looking pretty good. This is coming together. As far as the items go, weapon looks, I think, handled. Weapon data, weapon controller. So this is the actual thing now. So I had made out the function for like how the weapon is going to be handled. This is just for the player though, right? So I made two different ones. One is, well, actually, correction. This is for humanoid or wielded weapons. So NPCs can also use this, but their method, or I should put, instead of mouse direction, I should put, uh, just put direction, facing, face direction, facing direction might be better. Target direction. Yeah, that's better. Right? There we go. Okay. So in the case of like NPCs, they'll have basically they'll be looking at, there we go. They'll be looking at the player effectively. So, or whatever their target is, and this will change the angle on the weapon that they're wielding so that it rotates towards that the whatever the angle is between wherever it is and the closest point to that direction, right? Um, so now it'll also handle the scale of it. So this should just make the weapon look like it flips, right? And this will effectively give the impression that the weapon is moving from left to right, or it should. Haven't tested it yet. Uh, so here, now, this is slightly different, right? This is so you've already seen the data side. This is all data side. This is the weapon on data side, right? This is just the raw data of the weapon. So now the part that the player gets to interact with is here. So this is an update weapon. But nothing's calling this yet, right? Because there's no real link between this and the above. We're going to actually go to the player script real quick, dungeon player, and we're going to say we have no state machine. Like, I think I want to make a state machine first to handle in combat, out of combat, things like that. But the idea is that when you're in combat, you can show the weapon. When you're not in combat, the weapon is not there. Um, and then also, uh, there might be an animation for the weapon coming out, and things like that. And you attack with it. Change the angle. Yeah. So yeah. So basically, this needs an update weapon, right? Which is basically effectively what it is going to do. So this is doing a few things. This is also code that I had written up this morning. But basically, you have the active. It's going to first check to see if active weapon is null. If it is not null, then we want to see if it is a natural weapon or not. If it is a natural weapon, then, or rather, if this weapon matches a natural weapon or not, whatever this we put into here, then uh, it's going to just update the data on the active weapon, right? Otherwise, and then just return out of this. Otherwise, it'll do a queue free on the weapon, and then it will do a load on one of the weapon types that you need. All right, so now the only one that I'm worried about right now is the chakram, and that's not a natural weapon. That's a wielded weapon. It's not like your teeth or your claws or anything like that. So with this case now, the idea is that we're going to load the resource of that weapon. This is different. This is not the this is, let me rephrase that. This is the default weapon, right? The default weapon in the scene. It doesn't actually have any visuals. It's nothing. It's just a node that has the weapon script on it, the weapon handler script on it, and the collider and all those other things that the weapon needs. It's this basically. It says right here. We check to see if the handler, if we actually got the handler, right? If we didn't, we have something that's going to tell us we didn't. And then we say, okay, the active weapon is going to be equal to, we instantiate it, and then we say the active weapon is equal to the instantiated handler that we just loaded. And then we update it with the data from the weapon and pass in the entity, right? Basically the thing that's using this weapon. And then we add it as a child. This is the part that I was actually working on before I started streaming, which is I'm trying to set it based on the offset. So its global position and its x is going to be offset by this amount right here, whatever the data offset is. So this is kind of why it was important to ensure that the data would be consistent, which is why I went back and started hitting the data for the equipment proper, right? Because once we hook this in, this is going to want to make sure that, I want to make sure that this has the correct thing. So now I could actually get rid of this because I put is natural inside of the data for the weapon. So we can just do this, data.isNatural. Right? Okay. So we don't need to, we can just pass in the weapon and update weapon, and it will handle it on its own. And from the editor, we'll be able to tell it if the weapon is supposed to be natural or not. So here now we have the offset. We add that, and then I was going to tell it to just tell me what position that weapon is supposed to be in, because I don't think I want to get to the point where I implement it so I can see it exactly yet. I want to kind of just I wanted to keep working on it without having to do all of that setup for today. Okay, so we got the data flow for that. The next step is hooking this part up. We want to update the weapon. So my understanding is that right now, as we stand, we'll have nothing, right? We'll have nothing in the weapons because there's nothing saved. We just made that part. So there's nothing saved. So when the game loads, it's going to load the persistent entity, and there's going to be nothing in this. This is going to go for each, and when we looked in equip, we're not going to see anything. We probably won't even see this equipped, right? We should probably put because this is going to throw an exception. If data has return. Hmm? Oh. Okay. So, yeah, so the idea is that this doesn't have anything in it yet. When we call this, first we're going to have to do a call for update persistent properties, right? And then this data is then going to have that information in it. And so now when it goes through here, it's going to say, oh yeah, no, I have stuff for this. But when the game first starts, it's going to say, I don't have I don't have any of these. So why are you asking me for them? So now if I look here, I'm calling the initialize persistent data. Man, messing with data flow is kind of mind-bending, at least for me. Yeah, anyway, so we have to rely on that. We already got this nonsense taken care of the last 2 days as I was setting this up, right? Like, we have this circular argument. It'll keep going into a circle until it proves itself otherwise, which it keeps on trying to prove itself otherwise. Where is it? It's an update. Where is it? Update, update. There it is. So this is the where the magical stuff happens, right? So first it's going to say, hey, do you have persistent ID? Then this is going to say, no, I don't. So then it's going to try to get the player. And, or in this case, we know that it's a player because we have a Boolean that tracks that inside of the player, right? We could just do it a different way, which is I could just go to the player. This is probably the better way of handling it, I'll be honest. Where is it? So let's just do it the right way. If, uh, okay, and that would probably be the best way to handle it. So I'll do it this way. This makes it because this only exists in this class, right? So otherwise it's going to be false. So we don't need to even set it to true or false. It's always going to be false unless I set it to true. So what else? So yeah, basically that's where the magical stuff happens. It's going to then do get player. And this is get player right here. Get player is basically it wants to see uh, if it can find the player. Where is it? Yeah, if it can find the player's data in the persistent data, right? So it's just going to go through the persistent data and it's going to keep looking for an ID if it has the ID and if the ID isn't null. Um, if it finds the data, then great, it'll return that data. We don't need to go through this again. We've gone through it before, but that's basically what this is doing. And then otherwise, if it can't find the data at all, if it doesn't get past this, then it'll just, this is how it gets itself out of that circular argument, which is it creates a new player. So it says else the player, I want to go through it until I find the property is player, and it should be true. So it's going to keep going through every single, this is kind of like a deeper dive, right? Well, it is a deeper dive. This one is very quick. It's basically just saying, do you have a player in you in the dictionary? And if you do, then return that. And 1 second. Oh, yeah, my bad. So this is basically this. This is, sorry, this is this and this. So if we went through it and it wasn't in the active, right, then it's going to just add it to the active and return persistent. Otherwise, it will just return whatever was in the active entities. This is a deeper dive. It'll actually just iterate through the persistent entities until it finds something that is related to the player. If it finds something related to the player, if this has something saying, yeah, it's true, I'm the player, then this active entity is going to check to see if it has that, right? If that key, that ID, because this is a unique ID number. So it's going to see, hey, do I have that ID also? And then if it does, then it just breaks out of this because the idea is that at this point, you have the you already have the entity active somewhere. Right? It's active in the scene somewhere. Then we say, okay, uh, um, then we say, well, found data. Hmm. Right. I see why I did that. Okay. So the reason for this is in case this ID, for some reason or another, doesn't match the player, right? So I'm double checking effectively is what's happening here. Does this already contain the player? Right? That's the idea. That's the whole point of this. And so now it's going, well, it does contain the player. So if it's going to say, well, I do contain the player, then we are going to go like this. I don't think we need this. This is the confusing part. We don't need to check the active, right? Because we're going to overwrite the active here. So we don't need to check it there. We're going to say, well, found data is equal to the persistent. And then we're going to overwrite whatever we're creating new reference to the active using that particular key in the persistent. And then we're going to say, well, if we did find something, then the found data. Wait, what? No. If not found data. So if we went through everything and we still didn't find anything that has anything to do with the player, then we do this. We generate a new entity. All right. And then we return the data that we found after we generated that new entity. If we did find something, then we're just going to send what we found, and then that will become the new player, because this is going to get player. Where is it? Right here. This is going to return get player, update entity. Where is it? There it is. Okay. This is going to, no, that's not it. There. So this is going to, so now let's say that we have some random NPC in the game and we call save on it or update itself to the list, to the dictionary. But it doesn't have a persistent ID. It should never have gotten that far. It should have already had a persistent ID to have gotten that far to be in the scene. Because once it comes into the scene, it's ready. Should have tried to get its information from the persistent data. Now we're going to change that, right? Because the way that I want it to be is that I want to have something that's in each scene that checks to see if the thing that's in that scene is a persistent character, and if it is, then it needs to, or rather, sorry, it's going something that's going to iterate through the dictionary and then check each scene's path. And if the thing is that's in that scene has a path that matches that scene, then it's just going to instantiate all of the nodes that are necessary into that scene, right? And from there, then it will do the whole load properties and whatnot. But we haven't gotten that far yet because we don't have a scene. So this is just the character, just the player. So it's kind of messed up, but it's what it is. For right now, it's functional because it needed to be what it is right now. But I'm just getting my head around this again, so I know if this can handle what I'm trying to do right now, which I think it can. I think it can. Persistent entity. All right. So when we call update entity here, we're updating self. We're just doing one thing, which is we're taking ourselves and saying a that's it. So this will never get called for now. We need to figure out. I think it's a dot call is what it's called. Like there's a something called dot call that will allow me to call in the active scene a particular function, and it'll just do this. And I think it's extending from node. Let me check. No, I don't see anything. is a property list? What is property list? Part of object. Okay, dictionary get property list. Override this method to customize how script properties should be handled to the engine. So what is property list actually doing? There is get an array of get property list should be formatted in the same way. Okay, so um there's only one way to find out. That would have saved me so much time if that's actually in Godot built in. Uh, do that. Let's see. Um, oh, this is a. All right, let's try doing this. We're just first. Let's actually try to run the game and see if it's going to give me an exception. Yes, it did. What's the issue? Invalid target. Right. Okay. So it's saying that entity current weapon. This is invalid. Active weapon. What is this? This is a weapon controller. So this is no longer true. This is supposed to be um this is supposed to be current equipment. And enum dot equipable dot weapons. And we need to actually back. We need to actually that was the thing that we needed to connect. I didn't do the update weapon, which I should have done, but it is what it is. We're just going to set this now though. Wait, no. This is wrong. Whoops. Active weapon. This is wrong. So active weapon is supposed to be this. Um, I don't think we want to have this actually. Let's get rid of that for now. Pass. The active weapon is set here. So it shouldn't be something that's in ready. Okay. All right, no errors. So now here, what I need to check is it still communicating properly? I don't think I changed anything. Yeah, the character still moves. Okay. So now, um, the next part is sorry. The next part is I need to find out if what it I need to save and load this somehow. All right. Let's take a look at the save and load. See what it actually looks like. Sure. We'll have to open up copy path. Open file manager. Suggested Notepad plus. Yeah, sure. Reload. Okay, so what am I looking at? I am looking at. Is it bad? It looks like bad information. It got messed up. It got messed up. It got messed up a lot. Yeah, do something like this. Easier to see. It's not. How many times did it do this? It's been messed up. The good thing is that it has a date on it. So I can actually just see. There we go. So it's been messed up since yesterday. Actually, it's been messed up for a while. It's taking in different dates. That's nice. What the heck is this? Oh, it's actually storing a lot more, I thought. Oh, no, no, no. I see. I get what's happening. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Here's the question. If I delete all of this, I gotta test this out. If I delete all of this. No, don't save. Okay, I'm gonna just delete this. I wanna see if it's fixed or not. Okay, one go. Let's open it up and see what's in here. Always open with that. Okay, we have one file. If I go like this and start the game again, okay, still has just that one file. Okay, let's check on the save part. Save game, print saved. Should have print save. Why didn't it? I don't think it ever did it? No. Oh, it's doing it when I exit tree, I think. Is that what's happening? Let's do a quick check. Enter. Yeah, that's what's happening. Okay. So I get it now. We understand. So now the question is, go to the player real quick. Well, I mean, I know it's working, so I don't need to actually do that test. So yeah, no, this is actually working as intended. I don't know why it made like 50 different save files. Yeah, it's working as intended. So this is how it was supposed to work. And then over here, it has just an empty. Okay, good. It has just an empty, we have 13, then we have 15, and that is just an empty. So I can actually just put this in and not have to worry about it, it looks like. Let me see what happens when I do this. This is like good for like later on if I decide to add things after release. How it wants to treat data. Let's go back and let's take a look. Yes, reload. Let's put this, play. Still move around. Go back and take a look. Did it take number 14? Nope, it did not add 14. Why did not add? I think, did I not? I did it not add 14. Save, play, print. Save, play. Oh, that's why. We never ran an update. Interesting. So that's what it's doing, I think. I think I understand what it's doing. This is so friggin', I made this thing and it's like, it lost me. The big problem that I have with this is that I do not know um, how this particular type of data is handled in Godot. Right? So, but it's working. It's just that I don't like that it's working and I don't know why it's working. Right? Like, I want to know how to break it, in other words. That way I know how to fix it. So, technically, what I need to do to test this out is I need to go to the dungeon player and then just have this thing do a update. Okay, now let's take a look at the data. Oops. Oh, you guys weren't even seeing anything. Hold on. There we go. So what I'm looking for here is this 13 and 14. I need to see 14. If I see 14, that means I know that this thing is working. But the fact that I don't see 14 means that it's not working. So if we go back to here and we go here, in other words, I don't know where it's getting the data from, but it's saving that data. So this thing over here is storing information that I don't know where it's getting that information from. Right? Like this should, I think, be the primary places. Should be two places that inform this. This and load game. But since I already purged the save file, there should be nothing here. So all of its information should come from here. Right? That's my understanding. So, and there is no other file that's writing to persistent entities from anywhere else in the script. It's all of it should be inside of this. And this didn't go off. So let's do this. Okay, there we go. Number 14. That's what I was looking for. That was it. This is telling me if this is the player. It says true, so on. So now I should never really have to do anything else with this. This is it. So this is just an empty dictionary. And now it shows me that it will overwrite the previous dictionary, which is awesome, right? And it shows me that the save load system is working properly. Let me try this a few more times just to see and confirm. Close that. Okay. So we're just going to start the game and pause it. Nope. Start. Okay. And let's just see, did we have any craziness that happened? Nope, that's it. Awesome stuff. All right. And then if whatever I want to add to this now, it will just add it to it. Beautiful. Beautiful. So like let's say like, 3 months. We have the biggest expansion yet, and it has a whole bunch of new stuff that I want to save. You don't have to delete your previous save files. You can just continue on. Like, awesome stuff. This is the kind of save file that you can just continue to add on to, basically. It shouldn't break anything if I change anything. I could even remove things, right? Or alter things, I think. Because these are just, this is the beauty of enums, I think. Just awesome stuff. As you can tell, I'm a big proponent of enums. um, so, get rid of this. It's interesting stuff. So essentially it is saving the game when we exit, right? Which I didn't remember that it was doing this, but it is doing this. Um, so yeah, basically, but this is never going to get a chance to actually print anything here because it's already closed technically, but it still manages to run this for some reason, which is pretty, I'm not complaining. It's awesome. Um, maybe what they want to do is they want to have a separate thing for the debugger instead of making the debugger like put that directly into the editor or something. But there's something that disconnects basically when you use exit tree. Um, and the end print, they're not communicating. Let's get rid of this because this doesn't work anyway. Okay, so at a very high level, all this is doing is just saying, hey, we're converting this back to integers. That's all this is doing. It's just converting to integers. Part of me wants to think if there was a way to make this a static function and just have it return. My brain isn't there yet. I mean, it doesn't sound difficult. It's just that I'm not seeing the pathway there. Okay, so the task was item data connective framework. So let's actually finish that. That's going to be the end of the day once I do that part. So there's just one part left for setting up the item data. All right, that's this. Where is it? All right, so I think update data is already hooked up. Confirm hit, that's later. Weapon data, weapon controller. So update weapon. Where is it? Weapon. Update data, right? And this is going to update the weapon. This is legitimately just making the weapon if needed, or updating the data on the existing weapon. And so this needs to be called from, I would say probably from the player script. I think the player wants to have this. I don't think this belongs to the entity. All right, because when is this being called? This is being called when there's changes made to the weapon. And that can happen to just about anything in this game. We'll call them combatants. Any possible combatant can have this happen to them, where their weapon changes. So yeah, I think update weapon might be best in the entity then. Right? I think so. I think so. Let's do that. Let's take a look at the player real quick. Yeah, see weapon controllers right here. So it's going to have it off right off the bat. Let's go up to entity. And since we have the weapon controller, we do a get weapon controller here. And we're basically going to say I think we're basically going to say yeah, okay. I think I know what to do. So this is set up. We're going to say on ready. No, ready. There we go. We're going to say that the weapon controller there's a get set that you can use here. That way, when this is changed, you do something. Func change equipment. We're going to pass in the what am I holding here? Yeah, we're holding the weapon data. Pass in the current equipment, right? And we don't care what that current equipment is, and we're going to return equipment. Right. And then we're going to say var actually we want also type, and we're going to put enum dot equipment. And then we're going to say var replace target is going to be equal to the current equipment of this type. And Then we're going to say I'm confused a little bit. I'm scared that this is a reference rather than new data. Because if it's a reference, we have an issue. If I do this, let's see what happens. Dot. I don't think that works. What am I looking at? If it's a class, what I'm actually transferring over is the class weapon or whatever the equipment is, right? That's what we're actually transferring over. We're not making a new instance of that class. We're just transferring. This would be much better as an array. In this case, it would. But there's, I don't know, there's wins and losses on that. Replace the target. Yeah. If this is the case, that this is a reference, if what's happening here is a reference and it's not just a value being put in here, we're going to have an issue. There is a solution to this, a very easy solution. There is a very easy solution to this. Watch this. I don't like it, but my brain was like working overtime to figure out how not to do this. But we're going to do it. Temp dict going to be equal to the, where is it? Parent equipment dot duplicate. And then we say predict type, right? And then we say current equipment type and we're going to say that this is equal to not this. Enum's entity property equipped. Oh, actually, no, it would be equipable. I think that's what this is. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So whatever type of equipable this is, we put that in, and then we say we want to get that type from the equipment that we throw into the change equipment. This will then change the equipment and return the old type. This is stuff like inventory, right? Um, I figured this would probably be good here. So if there's nothing in here, it's just going to return null out, right? And it's going to return, you know what, let's do this. And if uh, replace target, then we return that. I think that's better. That way we don't have to make a return, and we don't care what type we're returning, right? We'll always just return that particular type. Makes it much more workable. We don't have to do like an is check or anything like that, or set it to as later. Um, there we go. I think that's it. So now we do change equipment, and then when we do change equipment, um, when we do change equipment, what do? We want to update the weapons. So we go if equipment is weapon. Then we'll get the weapon controller dot update weapon, and we'll update it with the equipment. Okay. Now that's hooked up. Okay, now let's make this equipment. Right, so we can only ever put equipment into this section. This is coming back now to what we did before by separating out the items with the equipment class. Right, and so hopefully this should, when I did this in Unity, I did this I mean, there were many reasons, but primarily I liked it because it would stop me from accidentally putting the wrong item into a method. It would say, "Hey, you know, this is supposed to be this type." Um, all right. So now, but if we do a check and we realize that that equipment is a weapon, then we do update weapon. Equipment as weapon. Right. And so now we turn this into a weapon script, or we recognize its weapon, that this is a weapon. It's just inheriting equipment. And then we say, yeah, this is now what we want to update. And so when we go here, this will be able to, let's go through this process. So we go to update weapon, and then update weapon takes in the weapon, and that's going to say, hey, we want to check to see if there's an active weapon. We've already been through this. So then the active weapon now becomes that, and then the first time through, it's gonna just say nothing. Okay, so now we have the offset down here. Right? That's part of the problem. We have an offset down here. This offset shouldn't be here, I think. This offset should be in um, update data. This add child. What, is the game running? No. P node is null. P node. Yeah, I don't know what the heck that is. Okay. Update data. So here is where we want to do it. All right. We want to say global position plus equals source global position x plus data offset. So now, no matter what we put in, when we update the data, it'll update the position here. This is where it wants to do that. It'll update the offset and update data. I think this is it. Methinks that is the connection that I needed. Let's save all of this stuff. All right. I mean, if I really wanted to be super specific about this, I do something like source dot weapon controller. Yeah. Right, and then do it that way. And it returns itself. This is actually how I'm doing the other code before. I forgot to mention. So I like to try to keep things in line as much as I can. And so I just have it returning itself. This, when you call update, it'll return itself. And if you go to weapon controller, you'll see that I just have it doing it right here, which is it's instantiating this, and then it's going to update itself. And then it goes into all of this other stuff. Right, that's how this, and it sets active, most of the stuff. Technically speaking, um, it might be better to just like do other things. Like if you wanted to break this up, you could easily do that, but I prefer to keep things this way because this is just here. Um, okay, so we can get rid of this because that's not what this is doing anymore. But we want to go back to the weapon handler, and I just want to check to see, hey, this thing is coming into existence and getting updated. Okay. Let's see how, so the initial call for this, I think happens, where? Entity, and we call change equipment. And so change equipment is going to be called, let's go down to the persistent entity. And when we go here, we want to do, instead of doing this part right here, we're going to go like this. Change equipment, and we're going to put, I believe it is the weapon and the this. And that should be it. Oh, don't do this nonsense again. All right. Save. Let's restart the project. see if it picks it up now. Looks like it did. Okay. All right, and that should be it. That should be it. All right. So now in Unity, what I would have done is I would have had something in here that would have generated like inside of info itself. So I would have had something like this. Create or whatever, but basically it's some kind of it would basically be some kind of, one sec. So we're actually going to, let me take a look at the character real quick. I think the reference is still there. Nope, it's gone. So we're going to put the weapon. Really? Come on. Chakram. Really? So I would have had some type of method inside of the resource itself that converts the resource over into a weapon. So all I would have to do is just call up that resource, then say to that resource, I want to say, you know what, let's do that because that's how I normally would have done it. This whole low data thing, right? Or rather, this whole section right here should be unnecessary using this part, right? It should be something that's just done once. You know what? Let's leave it this way. Part of me wants to leave it this way. Part of me wants to leave it this way. I don't like this, but part of me wants to leave it this way. Part of me says that this is the right way to do it. Normally I would have put it inside of the data, but I'm just so not confident with Godot that it's like I'm kind of scared to go and mess with that right now. I'll mess with it some other time. But right now, I am satisfied with what this is doing. So this is basically just going to do change equipment. This isn't going to do anything right now, but it just shows that this is capable of doing what it needs to do. Or it's going to show, or rather I'm about to test if this is capable of doing what I would need it to do. So the first thing that I want it to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to the, this is the test now. So this is going to be the last of it. And I'm going to call it after this. I'm going to, okay, there we go. I'm going to go here and then I'm going to do this. Change equipment. And then I'm just going to get, what's it called? It's called weapon info. I'm going to get weapon info. And I'm going to put it in there. Is that good enough? No. We need to get that guy. I know what I need to do. Var weapon equal to weapon info now is equal to weapon dot new weapon info. And then we put weapon here. Okay, good. All right. So now we do that, and let's okay. What's the issue? Invalid durability on base weapon data. Where am I? Oh, I'm in the weapon. So, oh. So the data, the weapon data, that's getting back. Right, we got rid of this. Oh, wait, no, we didn't. What's going on here? Yeah, max durability, current durability. Max durability is. Oh, I see. Okay, so let's go to the weapon data. I think it's part of equipment. It only has max durability. So when we go back here, there we go. This is, thank you. Typos are fun. It's, what's the next error? Okay, invalid get index. Oh, come on, really? That's bull. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, a little bit trickier than I thought. If there's just nothing in this, right? Well, I think this needs to be a little bit different. Temp dict type replace target is equal to temp underscore. Okay, so I get what it's saying. It's saying basically that there's nothing in the dictionary that matches this type. Right? There's nothing here to be this. I was hoping that this would just return no, but apparently because there's nothing here, it's gonna rather throw an exception and get nasty about it. So I don't want to do this, but it looks like it's gonna make me. If temp dict has type Can you do that? I don't think you can you? Nope. Okay. That'd have been funny. Um, so now we go like that, and we say, well, if it has something, then if the temporary dictionary has something, then we grab that something. Otherwise, then we just say the current equipment in that dictionary will be added to it. Right? We'll add. So this should actually go here. And this should be something like don't think that that's necessary, right? Is it? It probably is. Um, and then we can say this instead. And then we can say new equipment. And then we can say yes, new. We can actually just take this out and put this at the bottom. There's all of this stuff. And we can handle the replace at the end. Hey, I think that's good enough. All right. So what we're seeing here is we are we duplicated the dictionary. Then we just created some placeholders here for the new equipment and the old equipment, the replaced target. We can probably call this old equipment. Let's do that. Naming is hard. Okay, there we go. So that done, we can say if the dictionary has this type, then the old equipment is going to be equal to the temp dictionary of that type, whatever is in the dictionary of that type. If it doesn't have it, then we move on. For now, I think this is probably going to be turned into a switch later on, but for now, basically, if the equipment is a weapon, then we turn this into a weapon. This is new equipment is equal to equipment as a weapon, and then we pass that in. So far that was working, right? We just bumped into a small issue. So let's see if that issue is fixed here. Right, okay. So now it's going to look for the source, ignore source collision shape. So it's saying that collision shape is null. So weird. Does entity have a collision shape? It's right here. It's saying this is null. Hmm. Okay, we have a couple of questions. First, let's print source equal to null. Next, let's print source dot collision shape is equal to weird. This is so very, very weird. It's saying the source is actually null. Right. All right, now that we know what the issue is, let's now that we know what the issue is, let's see if we can resolve it. Like this, pull this out, get rid of that. Toggle comment. All right, it's going to give me that. Okay. So it's getting entity here. What is entity? Entity is from over here. And did we set the entity? Did we do? I think we might have deleted the part where we set the entity. Yeah, we did. Either that or okay. Entity equal to I don't know what that means, but okay. Oh, we got past that part, so I guess it works, whatever that was. What's the next issue? Invalid get index offset. Nothing can be wrong with this. This is vector 2. We're changing the x on the vector 2, thus the offset. So the issue has to be with data. What the weapon is doing. Take a look what's going on over here. Offset is a float. It's set up over here. On base, reference counted weapon. Did I add a comma in there or something? Source x plus data offset. Okay, we need to do this. Print data at offset. What? Oh. We ran into a different issue because I could show you right now because of this. There we go. That's funny. I have no clue what that is. I'll be honest with you. I didn't mean to set that up quite yet. Actually, this would be a good chance to test this out. Delete this. And let's see what happens when we start the game. Did it create new stuff? No, didn't even start. Okay, good. Um, what is it saying is the issue here though? It's saying set info doesn't exist. Ah, that's why. Because it doesn't exist. It's that. Okay, now let's try. Hmm. It's supposed to be loading. Sorry. It's supposed to be loading. What did I put in here? It's supposed to be when it, getting this. So when we hit load, we run set info, we get data reference. The data reference is here. Data ref. Data ref is a string. Right? And then in weapon, when we set the data ref, do we set the data ref? Populate. Yeah. Okay. So how about this? How about we get print data dot or read data ref. Should have done that. Okay, so it's supposed to be a string, but I don't know what the string is pointing to. I thought it was pointing to something over here, but apparently pointing to some gibberish. Okay, so now this thing is going to say, hey, no, set info. It's doing a thing. What we're actually going to do is populate equipment. Here we go. Just going to do this. And we're going to say return. There. Yeah, that's what I thought. This is supposed to be what it's supposed to do. I think I need to take a break. I didn't get it finished, but we got very close. But I need to walk away. Because that's a question and a half that I have right here. If it's reading it properly here, right? That's the actual reference over here that it needs to go to. But on this, it's reading it as this. So this has me a little bit confused because I don't know what this is. This is supposed to be the weapon, the dictionary that comes from the weapon. Right? So 0, in this case, is weapon. In the 15-0 is weapon, equipable weapon. And then this is supposed to be a dictionary. So this is supposed to be a separate dictionary underneath that. But technically speaking, this should be empty. There shouldn't be anything in here. At least not yet. But there could be. Right? All this is doing is taking your current dictionary, which should look like 14. But it's populating it with something here. But whatever it's populating it with, it's doing that with a... Oh. Okay. I understand what it's doing now. Oh, that sucks so bad. That sucks so bad. It sucks so much that it's absolutely painful. Yep, it's painful. So what needs to be done here is the dictionary that we have in the I mean, this is a learning experience. So what I've learned here is that yes, you cannot. Godot does not do anything with the classes. That's what I've just learned here. Well, I'm not learned. I learned what it does with them. It turns them into this thing. What it should have done is it needs to have called save on this inside of this. Inside of update. Right? That's what should have happened. So when we get here, equipped, and we're going to write this to this dictionary, what needs to actually happen is we need to make we need to make a new dictionary, right? So this actually should be something like this. Data dot get equipment. Okay, that's what this needs to be. And so now when we go back to the entity, or rather when we go to the persistent entity, we can go like this. Func get equipment. Okay. And it's going to return a dictionary. And then we're going to say, okay, we need to take a look at, we need to make a new var, new dict. Okay. It's going to be type dictionary and equal to that. We initialize it. And then we say, for I in, this is where it gets a little bit weird because we actually, I think we need to make this is where it's getting a little bit weird. With this new dictionary, I don't think, first let's go back one step. I don't think we need to do an iteration yet. I think we do at some point, but not right now. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to iterate through the equipment. And for each item in the equipment, we're going to then say that that item is an element in this dictionary. And then we're going to add that dictionary to the equipable. So we have a problem. All right, let's take a look at this one sec. We have a problem. When we do this equipped, we're going to get one dictionary. And then that one dictionary is going to have, we're going to iterate, is going to have a bunch of items that are equipped. And then the values on those items is going to be a dictionary of the properties on those dictionary, on the those classes. And we get that by doing a save, which should be returning the dictionary. So let's just double check weapon. Yeah, see? So if we do save data here, it's going to return the dictionary anyway. So we don't have to do a lot of coding here, right? All we have to do is just do save data on this. That's it. That's all. Let's go back to here one sec. And when we do get or so we get the equipment dictionary, and then we say, for I in current equipment. So for each item in the current equipment, right? And this is where it gets a little bit confusing. We need to add, I get it now. The new dict, and then we go I, and then we say is equal to current equipment I. Oops. What is it called? Save data. Okay. And then we do a return for new dict. Right? So now that should work. And then when we go back over to here, we can just say that. And that should do it. That should get us what we need. So now let's go like that. Should give us an error first. Oh no, it went right through. Oh no, because I blocked it off. But let's just check the this. Yes, reload. Let's see what you did. Yep, there it is. Right? That's what I was looking for. So now for each item in the inventory, this is what it will do. Now, the one thing that I think I want to learn how to do on this is how to create a new line, because I think what this is doing is it's putting everything, like if I do this, it's going to be like just a massive line of code. So what I think I want to do is I want to make it generate a new line. Like in Unity, you just use like something like .rich text, and that would make it just handle the hierarchy itself. Maybe this has something like that. Doesn't see why it shouldn't have that. But yeah, this is the equipment stuff, right? Because like, the inventory is just going to get ridiculous if I go across like that. And then if I have like 1,000 creatures, this thing will break just going scrolling to the right. But yeah, it works. Okay, good. We have damage, knockback, X, zero name, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And this was the key thing that was throwing the exception because it was like, this doesn't make sense. What are you trying to tell me? That's what it was doing before. Anyway, so let's leave that there for now, and we're going to go to I think it was persistent entity that had turned everything off on this. Yeah, there it is. So let's turn that back on. Let's get out of this and go like that. And now let's play. And what other error are we getting? Cannot from dictionary to string. Uh, it's you're supposed to be getting. So set info, I think, was the wrong thing to use for that. And I think dictionary was the wrong thing to use for this. In this case, this is supposed to be equipment. Right? No, no. That's wrong. All right, let's think. Let's think for a second. Where am I? I'm in entity. Right. So the info that we want to take in the dictionary, which is I think we did here. What is this doing? Populate equipment. Here we go. So we take in the dictionary and we take in the key. And then we say, oh, I see what the problem is. No, that looks right. So the dictionary that we're getting in this case is new dict 2. New dict 2 is what? It's equal to, it's a dictionary that is the equipped. So for each item, so set info wants to take in a specific item, and in that item we want this, the ref. Is that correct? REF. Okay. So this should be looking at the item and then trying to get the reference. Um, yeah, this is a case of that we're just looking at the wrong dictionary. Where's calling this? Where? Data. Load data, data dictionary. Right? Okay, at least we know. Let's think for a second. We need to do something to check what exactly that dictionary is. So let's do a print, and we can do a print on the dict. Key. And let's see what it gives us. Let's turn this off. This. Okay, so this is giving us, so this is the thing that holds the thing, that holds the thing. Oh boy. Okay. That's funny. It's a dude trying to play a dude being another dude. Let's get rid of something first. This is... we have a couple of prints that are firing off, and I don't know where they are. I need to... I'll deal with these things. These are different stuff. They don't say. You don't say output. I want to figure out where this is and where this is. 32. So let's just go to the weapon. See, I think this is the number 32. And I think that this is probably no matching reference found. No, nothing. Right, that's fine. That's okay. Yeah. Nowhere else. There's something that is printing this over here. I want to find out where it is. Number 32. I don't know what the heck is printing number 32, but whatever. Anyway. Uh, so this is actually doing what I thought it was doing, right? Which is, this is the dict key. And then we get the reference. So this is the correct thing. I see. Okay. So I think this just needs to be... There we go. I think that is that. So do like this. Just get rid of this. Okay, next. Oh, not bad. Okay. There's nothing showing visually. It should be showing visually. But I need to find out where the heck 32 is, but whatever. So yeah, no, it's handling change equipment and it knows what the equipment is. Yes, let's update this. It's the novice shack. It's the novice chakrams. There we go. Okay, good. It's the novice chakrams. I don't know what it's doing here with... Oh, this is the... Got it. There's a novice chakram. Knockback damage 15. And this is a reference to the scriptable, I'm sorry, the resource. This is the name, maximum allowed knockback, its damage, and 0. This will just overwrite everything after it gets that. And it's communicating. right? It's communicating. So now the next trick, for my next magic trick, we're going to go back here. And so it's saying, oh, that's where the 32 was coming from. Okay, so it's saying that this part, so it's reading this part. It's saying the offset is 32. So now let's go here. Let's get rid of this. We're back at the beginning. Okay. And print. What are we going to get? No, come on, brother. What's the issue? Invalid get index offset on piece. What does this mean? Okay, hold on. Whoops. Let's stop for a second. Let's consider what the heck is happening there. If I just ran this right now, it'll work fine. Why is it calling update data twice? It should only ever call it once, which is when it does change data. We'll have to find that out in a second. But all right. We're having a small issue. The issue is source entity is not null. It knows who the source is. Let's see. Let me get rid of this. It should never have gotten here if that was null, but you never know. Right. What the heck is going on with data offset? What the heck is going on here? It read it before. It says it was reading it as 32. So it knows that it's 32. Or it shouldn't be 32, actually. It should be 16. What is going on here? Hold on. Yeah, 16. So why is it... Oh, the offset is 32. The offset should be 16, I believe. Right, no, let's make the offset 24. Okay, so Now let's do a quick check. Weapon handler. And we'll just do it right here. Print data offset. Print 24. It knows it's 24. Okay. So now if we go and then do this, what happens? Now if we do this, what happens? It works. But then if we do this, now it works. What the freak? I must have typed something wrong. Okay. Good. Done. Sort of. I need to get the print global position. I need to find out where the heck this thing is after it finishes doing this. It is nowhere near wherever the player is. Quick, and we're going to go print global position. Actually, let's do it over here. Yeah, so the player is right here, and the weapon is over in yonder. I want to also know where the weapon controller.global position is. Okay, so I think I know what the problem was. I think I put a plus equaled. Yep, I did. There you go. There we go. Let's see now. Not sure what that's supposed to do. Oh, right. Global position. Okay. Where the heck is this thing? It's supposed to be like around me somewhere. I don't know where it is. You know what? Let's do it this way. Get rid of this real quick. And go 1. It's going to be 1 pixel off from me. It should be in the same area that I'm at. I don't see it. So that probably means that I did not set. There's a weapon handler. Go to the weapon scene. Sprite 2D. Update weapon. Yeah, that's what it is. So we just forgot to do a simple, a simple magic trick. Um, so sprite texture. You change. All right, let's take a look at the sprite 2D and dot set texture. Grr. All right, let's go here. So it has a texture property, it just wasn't showing up. Okay, maybe it wasn't showing up. Weird. We did texture here. What did we change? Okay, I see. So we don't need this. We can get rid of this. Right? Until we update, we don't need this little memory saved. Organize this a little bit. I think this should be over here. Or it would be at the top. Yeah, okay, good. Um so we kind of need to do a couple of things, right? Do we? No. We pass the weapon in. We kind of already pass in all of the details of the collision via this. So we don't need to set up other things, right? The collision shape is kind of handling the hitbox already. So as far as hitbox is concerned, uh, it's just here to handle this thing. We adjust everything about the hitbox here. Let's call this what it is, hitbox. Okay, there we go. Now I know how that naming works. So the name that you name it here is a name that's going to pop up here. Okay, got it. Now I know. So the sprite textures, now that will show up. Ignore shape, source collision shape. All right. Now it should show up. Let's see. What did we miss? Invalid texture because the base and texture is nil. Print Data.texture equal to null? Question. Try that one more time. False. It's not null. Okay, so is a texture. So what was that error again? On base, nil with the value of compressed 2D texture. All right, let's see, take a look at this. So the texture that I'm looking for Nandalia. Clear. What is this? Let's see if GPT is not open. Give me one sec. There we go. So let me see. Funk? The heck are you talking about here? Whatever. Anyway, I need to know if go back to this. Oh, how to set texture. Programmatically. Okay, that's yeah. It's saying that I'm doing it the right way. Right? It's saying it's just, and if you're going to extend Sprite 2D, then you would do it. Okay. Let me just check something real quick. Yeah, still a problem. On base nil with value of type compress. Is Sprite 2D nil? Is that what it is? Let's check. It says false. So it's not null. How come this thing doesn't come up? Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's saying that the texture is null. So what happens if I do this? Where are you? Well, you're not null, actually. You had that, but we're going to clear you. And we're going to add rest texture 2D, I guess. And then we're going to save. And then we're going to go here. And it's going to give me a null. On base, nil. What the hell does this mean? I legitimately do not understand what it's saying is the problem here. I know there's no texture in there, right? You know it's no texture in there. Let me see if it says null. Is that what it's saying? It's saying that it's null? So that would probably mean it's a read-only? Is no. No. It's acting like as if Sprite itself is null. But when I do this and do a check to see if it's null, then it's going to say, no, it's not null. It's right here. It's false. It's, actually, it's a thing. It exists. So what obvious issue am I not grasping here? It's something very obvious, I'm pretty sure. Always something very obvious. Clear. Take a look at texture. We have to do some reading. Sprite 2D. Oh, there is something called set texture. Oh no, set texture comes with a setter getter. Let me see. Maybe do I have direct access to it? Um, but saying sprite is null. Or is it saying data? Data can't be null. Data is doing all kinds of other things. Yeah, see, it's giving me data there. Yeah, so it's saying sprite is null. The data is doing all kinds of stuff. But it's saying that sprite itself is null. Why is... When I did the check for sprite being null, over here it says that this is false. But it's saying that it's null. Why is it saying sprite is null if sprite is not null? Try doing this. And collision shape is null. So confused. I'm so confused. You know what? Let's try to get a value from sprite aside from texture. What's in sprite? It has to be something that has... Right, okay. So let's take a look at sprite 2D. What fields do you have? So offset. So by default that's 0, 0. So let's see what comes back when I try to get the offset. Print sprite dot offset. There we go. Okay. Get rid of this. Okay, boom. What happens? So part of me is thinking that this thing ready is never going off. Is that what's happening? Let's find out. Oh, wait. What did I just do? What the heck just happened? What the heck just happened? Okay, it's not giving me a warning or anything like that, which tells me that ready is being fired off. It's saying that this is not being found. There we go. Okay, now let's try that. 0, 0. So now my question is this happening before ready? I think it is. I think it's happening the same frame ready is happening. It's just blowing it off. Yep. I think it's what's happening. Oh, Godot. Yep. True went off. So at some point in the frame, this thing happens. That's a thing. That's a reality. So my guess is because Godot is not designed for inline. So there is a version of this that is sent on the part of the frame before this. And I'm assuming that it's because of this inline code over here, weapon controller. This. So what we're going to do is do this, and then we're going to go active weapon. Gosh, so annoying. Okay, there. That should now be more consistent. Nope, it's not. Nope, it is not. Okay, so instead then, instead then what we will do is, since we know that that's not the problem, we'll go like this. Then in update data, we'll just do a check. Since collision shape is the last one there, I'm gonna do a check. If it's null, then we do ready. Right? That's what I'm going to try. And then we'll see if we get an error. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we can just do this. I think it needs a bigger offset, but we get the point. We have a weapon on the screen. Now, movement is not tied in yet, but yeah. Need this and I'm debating if it should be an ability. I think it would be nice. All weapons function that way, right? Should it be an ability? I don't know. All right. Well, we're going to call it there. That was getting the data structure together. So we now have, let me go back to this. We now have this system working perfectly fine. Yeah, sure. Right? It's not like creating multiples of save files or anything. It's accurately getting the correct character. It's actually creating a player every time, which is fantastic. Creating the player data in game each time that you start game, which means that I have control over that now. All I have to do, I mean, I started it. The way that I put it right now is that it's going to start whenever the game starts and save whenever the game ends. But in the actual game, obviously, I let the player control a lot of that saving, loading. Maybe I have an auto save. But yeah, basically, technically we have an inventory system at this point, or at least this is how inventory is usually set up. Um, and we have a pattern for that because the items effectively, since we put that into items, all items are inheriting that pattern. And it's just a matter of extending it for like the different specific items that we make. But once we do that, then it's going to be almost identical. We go through the same process. It's going to go through every single one of the items in our inventory, and it's going to add that to the dictionary. And then once we save the game, it'll actually take that dictionary's information and then puts it into JSON. All right. That's the overall. The cumbersome part will be taking that information out and then putting it back into the game. But I'm thinking that just going with item slots as the key would probably be very good. That's what I'm thinking for my next. Well, I mean, I'm not going to hit that absolutely next, but that's where I'm going to go. Anyway, this is where I'm going to call it. I might do some more work on this later today, but this is the end of it.